So a big thing for me was taking a list of all of the negative things that I say to myself. We all say negative things, right? One of my things was I feel like I'm stupid. And that's been since a child. It's just like situations in my life happened that made me feel stupid. And being able to take a list of all of these negative things, writing the opposite down, and realizing that's how God made us. We don't have to try to achieve to become this person. And so being able to come from that place of allowing God to work, it just shows up, dude. Like the doors that have opened, because there's no more expectations. It's just, I don't have to do it. God's going to do it for me. Whatever is supposed to be for me is going to be there. Nothing can stand in that way. And whatever is not supposed to be for me, I don't care. It's not the best thing for me. Like directly. And in the process of thanking him, the trees, the grass, everything starts to bloom and blossom. And it became the most peaceful, serene, beautiful place. And I woke up and it was the morning. And I had so much peace around every aspect of my life. It didn't matter like that we were, spending all this money and running out of money and the savings account was, none of that just didn't affect me. And I genuinely feel like that was a moment where God knew what I needed. I didn't need more money. I needed to feel peace.
Muy buenas a todos, ¿cómo están? Espero que estén muy bien. Hoy tenemos a un nuevo invitado, un invitado de lujo, que bueno, los teníamos ya agregados en Facebook y hoy vamos a hablar un poco de negocios, de Dios, de conexión espiritual y también de crecimiento. So Hunter, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you again for your time, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No worries, man. So, well, today I just want to talk with you about God, about business, about relationship, and also about personal development, and also your path, your experience, and all this stuff. Okay. So, my first question to you, man, the other day I saw that you posted on Facebook something that caught my attention. That is something like, since the moment I let the business in God's hands, everything starts changing. And I just want to go deep on this. What do you mean about this, and how do you start it in that journey?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to find it here because, so the post I said was the doors that have opened since letting God run our business and marketing really blows my mind. I say this because for the longest time, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've done a lot of different things. When I was a kid, we sold diabetic test strips. Me and my brother did. So we would go buy diabetic test strips and then turn around and resell them, like lemonade stands. I did yard work for people for money, a lot of different stuff in order to make money and just get into the business world. And then I did sales and a bunch of stuff for most of my life. And as I was developing into a business owner, a lot of what personal development people will tell you and books will tell you is you can do it, you can break through these walls, you can get to this place, and it's all about you. And it's like, you have to go and grab it. You have to do the work to go make it happen, right? So if I'm talking about myself, it's like, oh, I know that I want to build Simple Check to be $1 billion company where we can exit, for 9, 10, 11 figures. But I have to do it all by myself. So we ran marketing as such. We had conversation as such, affiliate partnerships as such. And we did the same in other businesses that I was involved in, and they did well. But it was always a struggle. It's always a struggle when it's you having to do this. And I've been having a weekly call with a mentor of mine for the last year and a half. And a lot of it is started with my relationship with my new wife. We got married a year ago, and but then he started to kind of show how everything is connected. Your relationship is connected to your work and your business, and it all correlates. And one of the things that we talked about was letting God handle all of the stuff, and we're just to be a vessel for God. So number one, you have to understand in order to do this, what your gifts that God has given you are to be able to walk in those gifts. And that's the lie that the devil wants you to believe is all you have to read these books and do these things to become this person. God made you like that. You're that person already. You just have to step into it and walk as such. And so being able to do that really allowed me to align with, okay, now God can actually work through me. It's not me. I have zero expectations of what happens, which means I put zero limits on what God can do. So when it comes to like running the business, everything, every conversation with either with my team, with my clients, with potential affiliates, or with some of our embedded partnership opportunities, like it's all, every single time I get on a phone call, I pray, God, allow me to show up and you shine through me in whatever way that looks like. Sales calls, even, like that's just the attitude. And then I almost take a step back and detach from the outcome, like you need to do in sales. Right? You need to be detached from the outcome, but I just detach from any expectation that I have of how the call should go. And we just conversate. Frankly, I black out a lot. Like when I say blackout, I mean, I don't remember. When the conversation's over, I kind of don't know how it went, because it's just, I'm literally just letting God, whatever needs to be said, the Holy Spirit's able to speak through me to this person, whether they become a client or a partner, or we realize, hey, you have a better option elsewhere, or there's different, like whatever happens, it doesn't matter to me. I just know that I'm being a light and God's going to work through that. Nothing can stand in that way. And whatever is not supposed to be for me, I don't care. It's not the best thing for me. Right? And I'll give an example of this. There was a company with, they reached out to us. They had a conversation with my business partner, Grant, about getting Simple Checks set up in their organization. We're a software, so it's a simple process. We've been around since late 2023, early 2024. They say, hey, cool, let's move forward. What are the steps? We walk them through it. 2 days later, this other guy started claiming that we were a white label of his company that he built, which is just a lie, right? And old me would have been pissed. I would have immediately sent him cease and desist. It's like, hey, defamation of character. This is fortuitous business practices. Like what you're doing is illegal, and I'm going to sue you for it, because that's me taking control. Instead, I talked to my partner. I'm like, look, God's got this. If we're supposed to land this client, and they're a decently sized client, I mean, they're really well known in the space. Why I'm intentionally not saying their names, but they're well known in the space, and port volume and such, like as a client, they're small, but well known in the space, which I would love to work with them. And we just gave it to God. The God, if this is for us, you'll make it happen. Well, that night we got a phone call from their CEO saying, hey, here's what this guy's telling us. What's the truth? What's your guys' side to the story? We explain it. He goes, cool, I'm not going to work with them. 3 weeks later, we get another text from a guy that I know that works there. He's like, hey, it looks like there's confusion. He's not believing you, yada, yada. So I was just like, okay, God, like, what do we need to do to handle this? You got to tell him. And he put it on mine and my business partner's heart to write a Facebook post explaining who we are exactly, who we're not exactly, that we don't white label from anybody. And then we posted receipts, like our IRS documentation, Slack messages from when we started and had the idea to build this whole concept of Simple Check. And then we're just like, cool, it's up to God. And then that morning we get a text from my buddy who's like, hey, Sean said that whatever he needed to hear, he heard, and he knows that you guys have full integrity, and we're going to move forward with you. And then literally like 3 days ago, they got signed up. And that was just a huge testament to God giving us what he decided was for us. And I truly believe it would only have happened because we just set aside our expectations and said, if it's for us, and you'll make it happen.
Wow. What a powerful explanation, man. And following the line from this last case that you shared with us, it's incredible, because what would happen for you if you act like in the old way of acting, like starting to stress, and maybe you cannot receive that gift that is difficult, man, to see as a gift, that situation.
Yeah, it's tough. And I would have been stressed out. I would have, like I said, dude, like old me would have sued immediately. We would have sent a cease and desist that night. And then I would have waited a couple of days, understood that he was still going to do it because nobody cares about a cease and desist. And then I would have had to sue him. And then that just takes up so much of my time and effort from truly building the best product and helping all of our clients exceed, scale, and grow. And it takes the attention away from where it should be. So it's up to you, God. Whatever you want to have happen is going to happen. And we get rewarded for that.
Wow. And when start this, like I don't know how to name this, but this experience, if we can call like this, when did you start this experience? There is like a turning point into your life where you say, well, my life now is different because of this.
Great question. I'm happy to go deep. So I was raised super Christian, followed the Bible, like that was just how I was raised. When I was 18, I left and I said, God isn't real, don't care. And for like 5 or 6 years, that was just who I was. A couple of years ago, had really good conversations. My business partner was a follower of Jesus, and it got me back into just like reading the Bible and learning. And then it got to a point where, and this is for people too, like I made a decision that either heaven's real or it's not. And if it's real and I believe in God, I have the best possible outcome. And if I believe in God and it's not real, nothing happens. So who cares? But if heaven, and that means if hell is real and I don't believe I'm going to hell, like that's the worst possible outcome. So I need to act and operate in a way that's going to give me the best possible outcome. Just logically, it makes sense, because if I believe and it's not real, literally nothing happens and my life isn't affected. Who cares? So I just started pretending. Like I went to church, I read the Bible. I'm like, let's pretend. And as I'm pretending, I'm starting to logically put the pieces together. It's like, it makes sense. There is actual historical evidence. There's eyewitnesses accounts of Jesus dying on the cross and being resurrected. Like the Bible is true. It's written over a very long span of time. I think like 600 years or 2000. I don't know. I'm again, a couple of years ago and still learning a lot more, relearning a lot more, but it got me to this place of understanding, but there wasn't a breakthrough moment until February of this year. And that's because I was dealing with all of this stuff from my past and like still living in almost like essentially living in the past. It's like, I have to be in control. And I went to an event that my mentor had, and that was where he was like, hey, here's the list, write down all the negative things that you say to yourself, which is like, I'm stupid, I'm not enough, I'm not loved, I'm not respected, people like me, I can't connect people, I'm not good conversating with people, and write down exactly the opposite of that. And that's when I did that. And as I did that, and he explained, this is who God made you to be, you have to step into it. It was, I don't know how to explain it, but just this feeling of, it's a peace that surpasses all understanding just came over me. And I realized that I need to just walk in this, and God's got it. And from that moment forward, even in my personal life, dude, like things have just, I made that decision, things just work out so well. We went to the airport, maybe it was 3 or 4 days later, and me and my wife were flying back home, and I was hanging out with my dad. We didn't have a great relationship growing up, and we were arguing on the way to the airport. Get out of the airport, and the only thing I said was, thank you, God, for allowing me the opportunity to even argue with my dad. Like he's getting older, but it was just, thank you, God. And we get up to security and get right through security. And we got there a few hours. Like I normally am the person that gets there, gets through security, and immediately has to board his airplane. We got there like 3 hours early because my dad and I were arguing. He didn't want to hang out anymore. He's like, I'm taking you to the airport. Cool. And so we have a 3 or 4 hour wait now at the airport. And we walk through security, and a dude taps us on the shoulder. He's like, hey, are you flying Delta by any chance? Yeah. He's like, cool. I have 2 guest passes to the Delta Sky Lounge. You guys want to come join? Free food, free drinks, like whatever. Like we don't have to hang out, but I just have free passes and I give them away to people when I travel. Like that sounds amazing. Well, it turns out he's Christian. He follows God. It was really cool. I had a really good conversation, but it's like little things like that just happen now. Because in February, I went to this event and I made the decision, God's in control. And that was the moment that switched everything.
Wow. It's incredible, man. You're impacting me in a deep way, being honest with you. And brother, how do you manage this paradox of life between, the yin and yang, like the sense of having the control of life and at the same time surrender to God, knowing that you're the business owner, and at the end of the day, you need to keep taking actions. Somebody that is watching this video and they want to understand how to keep taking action in their life and at the same time surrender to God. What can you say to this, and what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, it's tough to conceptualize. There are feelings like I don't hear an audible voice of God, but I know when he's telling me do this. This is the route you need to go, because all the doors open and it's like, this is the only route to go. Everything else has shut down. There's no other option other than doing this way. So we still have a responsibility to do the actions, but we have to listen to God to know what actions to do. For example, we didn't run ads for a very long time for our organization. There was just no point. We had a ton of connections, a lot of referrals. Like, why are we going to run ads? And both Grant and I got a feeling of we need to start running ads. So obviously there's things that we have to do. They're not just going to magically appear, right? We have to take that action to, do the recording, get it all set up, editing,
Yep.
whatever that process looks like. We have to do it, but we know the direction because we both really feel it. The same thing, I'll give an even more recent example. To yesterday, I was talking to my business partner and I was like, hey, there's an upgrade that we want to make to the project. One of our developers is a part-time developer. And he's like, hey, I could make this. It'll take me 7 to 9 weeks. Or if I go full-time, it'll take me 3 weeks. So Grant and I spoke about it. And we both were like, God, what is it that we need to do? And we both feel very strongly that we need it done as fast as possible. So we're like, cool, we'll pay you to go full-time, because we know that it comes from God. We wouldn't have that feeling about it had it not come from God. And it also logically makes sense, right? And so it's like just being in tune with allowing God to tell you what to do. And then, yeah, that there's things that you have to do. But if you're ever in a place of, I have to do this, right? It's like, I have to be the one that makes this happen. Then you're not operating from that place where God can actually work through you.
Wow, man. And so these feelings that you have to somebody that is not experienced that and they want to start connecting with God. So I know that there is no steps to connect with God. It's much more than that. But if we have to put in a logical step by step that you can say, hey, brother, if you follow this, you will probably get to that place. What do you say? And also another question, man, when you have this feeling, okay, that you feel like, hey, we have to do this. Is it a feel of certain? Is it a happy feeling? What is the type of feeling?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's a feeling of just conviction. I wouldn't say it's a happy feeling or a sad feeling, because you can feel sad and still feel really convicted, right? Example being, maybe you're in a relationship and the right thing to do, and God is telling you to break up with this person. That's a kind of bad feeling. Like I've been there. I don't want to have a feeling like that, but I'm certain, and there's conviction behind it, that's the right thing to do, right? So it's not a good feeling or a bad feeling. It's a level of conviction and certainty that you feel, and that's how God speaks to me. But God speaks differently. I mean, I have friends who've literally heard an audible voice of God, and like that's how he communicates. One of them, literally, God communicates him through dreams. And I've had dreams where God's communicated with me as well. Like, so it's things like that where it's not a one size fits all. It's not a, hey, look for this feeling. It's an openness to, God, I want you to work through me. I want you to communicate your will. And you have to pray for discernment, right? Because the enemy is going to come and try to attack you through various different routes. But if you have the discernment and you've prayed for discernment and wisdom, God's going to grant it every time, 100%. It's a promise that he gives us. I will give you discernment if you ask for it. So you ask for discernment. Well, now you can't be led astray, because if something is for you, you'll have that conviction, right? Or you'll hear the voice, or whatever the way that God's going to communicate with you. He'll communicate with you, and then you'll be able to act from there. But it's tough because there's just not a step-by-step path that somebody can take. I would just say, read your Bible, and more importantly, spend time in prayer. And when you spend time in prayer, a lot of people pray asking for things.
Yeah.
I have never one time received something after asking for it. And the reason I believe that that's the case with me is because I sound whiny and ungrateful. Like, God literally sent his son and himself, to die for us and to be tortured for us. Like, And then I'm going to be like, oh man, I want more money, give me more money, give me more clothes. Like that's so ungrateful. And it's like a slap in the face. Like if I have a kid and we sacrifice for this kid and then he's like, hey, I don't care and I need these things. It's like, all right. So when you pray with gratitude. Like anytime of a tough time, it's thank you for all of the times that you've come through. And I start listing out literally every single time that I can think of that God has come through for me in any type of manner. And it's just, thank you for that. And I don't ask for anything because God already knows what I need. I don't need to ask him for something. He knows, but I just thank him, and that's worship. So you're praying and you're worshiping. And at that point, I think that's when the relationship with him grows deeper. And when your relationship with him grows deeper, you can actually communicate and feel that. Same thing with humans. If you don't communicate, you don't have that like special connection with them. But when you communicate, you start to develop a special connection with them. It's like my business partner and I can pretty much read each other's minds when we're on calls. And I can say the exact right thing that needs to be said for him, and he'll say the exact right thing to set me up for that part of it's just because we communicate all day, every day. And it's the same thing, communicate with God every day. And it's easy to start to hear him and understand what's coming from him.
Yeah, brother. And it's crazy, this thing that you say, because if you don't know, in your case, you say, well, thank you, God, for this. Thank you, God, for this. And it's crazy thinking that if you say thank you to everything that happens to you because God put that to you, it has no sense to ask God for something because you don't know what is better for you. Right. You cannot ask for nothing. You just need to surrender to the moment. And that is like the difficult part for the ego, right?
Mm-hmm. It's tough. It's very tough. And I'll tell a story because I feel like somebody that listening needs to hear this. And it was very impactful in my life. As we're building this organization, financially, bootstrapped. So we're literally spending our savings and our money is getting lower and lower. And I'm like, I start to stress. And I usually don't stress out about money because at the end of the day, it's all God's. But it wasn't getting better. It seemed to be getting worse. So I start to get more and more stressed. So I'm to a point where I'm not sleeping much at night. And it's like, I can tell that it's really weighing on me. So one night I'm laying there and I'm constantly just thinking about how do I make this happen, right? How do I do this? And I realized, so then I started praying. I'm like, God, I just need you to like deliver us more clients. And I started asking for all these things. And that was the moment where I realized I sound like I'm whining. Why am I doing this? So I literally, from that point, immediately, we're talking like 1 or 2 in the morning, can't sleep, wide awake in bed. I start saying, thank you for all of these things. And I start just listing everything in my life that I could think of to be grateful for. I started listing and I get through a few things and I immediately fall asleep. Like I got through like 3 or 4 things I was thankful for and I passed out, which is crazy because I was having a hard time thinking. And then I had this dream. And this dream was insane. In the middle of a forest, but it was like a winter forest. So all the trees are bare. The grass is all brown. Leaves are on the ground, like everything's dead. Right? And then there is what I can only assume is God. Older man, white hair, but like shining kind of. It was interesting. And I just started thanking him, express that story to as many people as I can, because I know that it'll just touch like the people that need to hear it will hear it. And if you're in a bad situation, like just thank God for everything that he's done. He'll give you what you need. Whatever that is, he'll give it to you. You just might not know what you need and you think you do.
Wow. Do you believe that part of your story is like the dark time of the soul?
How do you mean?
Yeah, when you go down and there is like no more place to go down, just going up. Do you believe that is the tough part of the lowest part of your life, or there's another?
No, dude, I've lived 5 or 6 different lives. I've had some very, very low points, and they all came when God was nowhere to be found in my life, because I literally was like, you don't exist. Which,
wow.
When I left my parents' house and I made the decision that God wasn't real, didn't want to believe it. It was forced down your throat as a kid. It's like, you want to be an independent person. And I feel a lot of people go through the same thing. And
Yeah.
so I've had some really low moments, and I've been completely alone from what I saw. Looking back, like God was with me the whole time, and I can literally like give examples of how, but at the time, those were all the lowest moments in my life. It was because I just didn't have God in it from my point of view, even though he was still with me. And so like, that was just a moment of, I needed peace, and God gave it to me. Not like a you know, the low point of my life by any stretch of the imagination, because things were great. I mean, I just gotten married, life was good. I mean, I still have money, so it's not. But it was just the pressure that was building, and it was affecting me in work, in relationships, and I just needed something different, and God provided.
Wow. Wow. And man, in your own opinion, what is the primary or the first reason that why people doesn't open the door to God? Well, what are your thoughts about this?
It depends on the situation. If they've never been introduced to God, like, you know, been around it, I believe a lot of disbelief around how can there be somebody that good, right? It's like, oh, well, there's all this terrible stuff that happens in the world. How can a God who supposedly loves everybody allow that to happen, right? So like things like that, if they've just never been around it. But then there's the other side, like me, where people are around it and it's shoved down their throats so much, and it's like a rebellion thing. They leave their house and they just want to break free from everything and be free and be their own person and all of this. So I think it just depends on the situation. People could have gotten hurt. They could have prayed and God didn't answer the way that they thought it should have. You know, like there's so many different reasons why people don't listen, but there will be a day where, I mean, every knee is going to bow and confess that he is Lord, you know?
Okay. Now, rather moving a little bit to the business side, and can you tell to the audience a little bit about you as a business owner, what you do? You're in the high ticket space, and what your business do for others.
Yeah. So I've been in the high ticket space for maybe 5 years now, maybe 4. Started in sales, was a setter and a closer for Cole Gordon after paying him for training. Moved into some other offers, did some sales leadership, and then met my business partner. And I just started working for him as a sales rep with a funding company. Moved into my commissions from what I brought in were going to literally pay me more than what him or our third business partner at the time was going to make in payouts monthly. So it just made more sense financially for the business to make me an equal partner. And then throughout that process, we developed the company that we now run. We stopped financing, and it's called Simple Check. So what Simple Check does is it gives you insight. It's almost like X-ray vision into your lead's wallet. Once they opt in, so like, you know, you run an ad, there's an opt-in form, name, phone number, and email. We connect to the back of that with our credible capture technology. Part of it is us forcing their IP address to come through. Part of it's putting legal language and consent language into the funnel. And then we run a soft credit check. So, you know, lead opts in, Bob opts in to a coaching program that teaches people how to flip homes. Well, we now see Bob's income, what his credit score is, how much available credit he can spend across his credit cards right now on the call, and some other data that's important. But those are the big 3 things. And then from there, the sales team knows, well, if they're broke, I don't need to take this call because they literally can't afford it. Might as well send them to the free trainings. Or if they have a ton of money and we know that we're going to be able to close them, great, we're taking that call. Right. And then there's always the in the middles and, you know, different, whether they're going to take a credit card payment or go the financing route. There's different options, but it allows a sales team to only spend time with qualified people that can actually pay them, which usually is going to double their closing rate as an organization, which means their revenue is going to double. And then on the back end of that, we plug back into their ad pixel to retrain the pixel to target the right people. So, hey, people with a 700 credit score that have over $15,000 of spendable credit and an income of at least $60,000, that's the lookalike audience that we create. Now, Facebook starts to give you more people like that. And usually a business will see 25 to 30% decrease in lead cost from that. So that's it's software, but it's all on the back end and hidden. Like nobody really knows other than the consent language, but the business has so much deeper insight into their whole sales process and what actually goes on and who's actually qualified and not.
Wow, brother. So simple check is like the new internet for high ticket space. It's a revolution, man. I love it.
Yeah, dude, we're
And
trying to get out there for sure.
and brother, how big is for you the issue of unqualified leads? And do you believe that just depends on the money part, or there is other stuff like, for example, bad sales rep? Well, I don't like to say bad sales rep, but maybe sales rep with not the enough training. And also, you have been a closer, so you understand really good, because there is a lot of people saying, well, everything just depends on the closer. If you're good, you're gonna close, but if you're not good, you're not gonna close.
And that's just false. So if somebody has the financial capacity to actually pay you, yes, then it's like, okay, closer, you have to do this. What I've seen Symbol Check allow businesses to do is, number one, when a sales rep's lying to you. Oh, like I've said it, dude. When I haven't closed somebody, well, they just didn't have money. And I don't even know if they have money, right? But that's just my assumption because they said it and I didn't overcome that objection. When in reality, they probably could be resourceful or had some money or something. So it immediately for that business gets rid of all of that. You immediately know, well, they actually have 30 grand of available credit to spend. Like you could have closed them, right? So now we know there's an opportunity for growth for the sales rep, right? Or marketing to be able to say, oh, well, our ads aren't targeting the right people, because you immediately know, hey, we're getting people that are sub 600 credit scores. That's every lead that's opted in. We need to make a change now rather than waiting 30 days and relying on that feedback from the closing team. So it's really beneficial in those places. And while no, it isn't, financial qualifying is not the only qualifications that should be done. It is a vital part. And most organizations are going to have some sort of form application that somebody fills out when they book a call. And on that application, they're usually asking a financially qualifying question. We want everybody to keep their application and take off the financially qualifying question because, number one, it'll save that business money. On average, it's going to cost between $7 and $9 per application that's turned in to have a financial qualifying question. Something like,
Wow,
what's your income at? Or, hey, what's your financial availability to invest in the program? Whatever that question is talking about money, costs between $7 and $9 to have on the application. So keep the application for intent, right? Somebody's who's not willing to buy won't fill out the application. So you want to keep the application, but you get rid of the sticking point of talking about money. And in doing so, now sales resistance goes down because they don't show up to the call thinking, well, you asked me about money, which means if I tell you I make a lot, then you're going to sell me something higher price. If I tell you I don't make a lot, you're going to sell me, so it's like there's sales resistance there. And then the last part of that is, dude, people lie. I opt into things and it says, what's your income? I'm not telling you. When I made very little money, I said I made a lot. Now that I subjectively make decent money, I say I don't make much money because I don't want, like, it's my personal business and I don't need people
absolutely.
to know, or I just don't want to answer the question. However, when I consent to something on the front end, certify that I'm 18 years or older, and I authorize you and your affiliates to obtain a consumer report to personalize my experience. And I go, oh, cool, no worries. Click enter, and I opt in. Now you have all the information, but I don't have any of the icky feeling. So now you truly can personalize my experience of maybe he can't pay the $30,000 program, but he can afford the $5,000 program. Great, let's get him in there. Maybe he can't even afford the $5,000 program, but we have a ton of free resources. Let's get him all the free resources to help out in some way, right? But now there's no more icky feeling. So yeah, you need to qualify outside of finances too, but it all goes hand in hand.
Wow. And brother, you will tell them that, okay, in base of the data that we have collect with our system, we just found that maybe you don't have the money to afford. On how do you manage that? Because there is a legal part in all this, or you can just have access to that information. How simple check work with all this?
Yeah, so there's compliance. We have to get their consent up front, mandatory. If we don't, we would get in so much trouble. My whole business would be gone, which means my livelihood, my wife's lifestyle, my business partner and his family's life, it's just gone. So we're 100% compliant with every regulatory office, the FCRA, HIPAA, whatever. We're totally compliant. And with that, as a sales rep, it's not about you even like on a sales call saying, hey, I see that you have 30 grand available, just throw it on the card. It's not even about that. It's about you knowing what is the best path for this person to move forward, and then running your normal sales process, walking them through, making sure it's really a good fit for them. And then if it is, you offer them a credit card PIF because that's the best thing for them and they can financially afford it. But if they can't, and you see that they can afford for funding, well, then you just go straight into, hey, we'll get you funded. We don't need to like say, oh, dude, I see your information. There are some offers that do that, where they're like, hey, we already have you pre-qualified for 15 grand over the course of 24 months. It's going to be, $800 a month or whatever the payment is. So they'll do that, and it doesn't necessarily harm it. But for me, dude, it's all about, as a sales rep, if you have their best interest at heart and all the data to back it, you know how to best direct them to get the best results out of them. And somebody who has the money to spend on a credit card, they should do that so they have this internal fire of, if I don't do this program, I don't get my money's worth. Whereas if you were to say, oh, dude, yeah, it's $400 a month versus you paying 10 grand cash, they're going to put $400 a month of effort into whatever they're purchasing. So it's your responsibility to help them succeed by collecting as much upfront as you can to make it uncomfortable so they have to do it.
Yep.
And that's where you just knowing the data is good, but you don't ever use it in an unethical way on a call.
Okay, nice, brother. And what are your thoughts in terms of, there is a lot of people that say in the high ticket space, you don't have to give the price before having the call, or yes, you have to give the price. And there are like different opinions on this. I just want to know, you as not as a business owner, also as an ex-closer, what are your thoughts about this?
I'll tell you, as a closer, before I made a change to how I actually operate my sales calls, because I'm still a closer and I love it and it's so much fun. So I take all of our sales calls, and then my partner Grant will take, some here every once in a while because he does the same. He was a closer as well. And before I made the change to letting God run everything, it was, I'm not telling you the price until we're on the phone because I need the control. That's where that stems from, I've found, is a closer wants the control of actually being on the phone and at least having the opportunity. And then usually on the phone, one of the first questions is, well, yeah, I want to know how much it costs. And it's like, well, great, we'll get to that. And then we go through like all of our discovery and then transition, and then we pitch. And it's like, for me now as a business owner and now operating, knowing that whatever is for me, God is going to make happen. My whole sales process kind of went out the window. And all my process is, I ask God, as soon as I get on the call, even before this, in our video, we're explaining, here's what our pricing is. So like up front, I want people to know, if they want to know, they can find it. And then, so I don't care. Like if somebody were to ask, it'd be like, hey, here's what it's $3K to set it up. And it's between $2.50 and $4 a report. It depends on what you need. And then let's have a conversation and figure out where that is. Right. But after like if you schedule a call with me, we get on a call, my first thing is I pray right before I let you in the room. And then we have a conversation. I'm like, hey dude, where are you from? Awesome. Cool. I mean, what questions do you have? I'm sure you've checked us out. I'm sure you have a bunch of questions, and it's not a typical sales process. We don't need to do like a whole discovery, whatever, like let's have a conversation. And then they immediately say two things. One, how is this legal? They say three things. How is this legal? Two is it actually real? Because it sounds too good to be true. And then three, obviously, what's the cost? So I usually attack those with cost first because everybody wants to know. And I immediately just say, yeah, no worries. Let's get the hard stuff out of the way first. And I make a joke about it. I'm like, hey, it's $3,000 for setup and maintenance forever. Any changes, anything, like we do 100% of the work for you. You don't have to do anything. And then it's between $250 and $4 a report. Most of the time we're looking right around $3.10 per report for all the data that you would probably need. Now, how is it? And then I tackle, how is it legal? And then I go into, is this even real? And then I pull up our calculator and I walk them through real numbers from all of the clients, aggregated, like the average results based on their ad spend, their lead flow, their closing rate, all of that, their current monthly revenue. And it's like, cool, here's what you can expect to see as an increase in revenue by adding Simple Check over the course of 90 days. Here's exactly what Simple Check costs over those course of the 90 days. So they get to see all of that, right? And it's just, there's no more worry about price. Like, dude, I'll cover it immediately. It's really more, when do they bring it up and when do they ask about it? And I'll tell them.
I believe the same that you, brother. So it's a pleasure to think in the same way. And Hunter, my last question for you before ending this podcast. What is your purpose as a business owner for one side, and for the other side as a human? What do you believe?
I think they both kind of correlate, and it's to make an impact on the world and to better the kingdom of God. Now, it's done differently in business than it is in personal. For me personally, some people it's the same. For me in business, to be able to be in front of business owners, to give them an amazing product that they're so happy about, that it makes me look really good. And then they actually look at myself and Grant and my team as, who are these people and why do they have the success that they have? What's different about them? And then that gives us the opportunity to have conversations like this, which, like, God leads us. That's what's different. And we allow him to shine through. So to be able to further the kingdom that way. And then on my personal side, I have a podcast. It's called Rewired. And it's really helping the younger generation just understand that the way that they think, a gift. So like I said, as a kid, I felt like I was stupid because of things that happened in my past. And I carried that until literally this year. I'm 28. So for basically all of my life, I thought that I was stupid, and I told myself that every day, and I programmed myself to believe that because kids made fun of me, my parents, like, situation, like all of these things. I want to help a younger generation understand that you can think differently, lean into that because that's a gift from God, and that is 100% okay, and go change the world because you think differently. Don't hide it. That's the whole premise. And like, that's my personal mission, is to be able to impact the younger generation, because the world's just getting worse and worse. And it starts with kids. We're not going to fix it in our generation. It just won't happen. But if our kids and the younger generation learn, and then they teach their kids, in 3 to 4 generations, we can have the world back on track. That's if God doesn't come back before then.
I hope that I can see one day in a TEDx conversation speaking, brother.
I would love that. If you have connections, man, let me know.
Brother, I love this, and I love this podcast, having a real conversation with you. We start from the deepest part, so in normal conversation is gains like this, but it was a pleasure, brother. Last thing, where people can find you, and if they are interested in your business and what you do, how they can contact you, brother.
Yeah, so I mean, we're on Facebook, Simple Check. You can go to simplecheck.com. There's a video on the front page that says everything, pricing included. You also heard it here. There's the calculator under the pricing tab. You can literally see over the course of 90 days exactly what it's going to cost your business. That's for Simple Check. I mean, you can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram, official Hunter Hensley, at official Hunter Hensley. And if you want to, support the podcast, it's just Rewired with Hunter Hensley is the name of the podcast. Or if you want to, reach out and be a guest on the show too, that's fine. I want to interview people who think differently. So if you can show that you think differently, I'm happy to hop on and have a conversation.
Thank you, man. Thank you for your time again. It was a pleasure.
Of course, brother.